My grandmother Bertie used to tell this story to her children back in the 1920s. It was the last story she'd tell them before bedtime, 'cause after this one they didn't want to hear any more. They'd run to bed and jump under the covers. It's called The Big Old Sow Yellow Wildcat, and it goes like this. An old man was walking home through the woods late one evening. He had gone to town and had stayed too long, and now the sun was going down, and it was going to be dark before long. Back in them days, you didn't want to be walking home down them old country roads in the dark. There weren't no street lights or nothing like that, and not many houses along the way. No telling what would be lurking in those woods after dark, just sitting there waiting for you to walk by. On this particular night, there was no moon, and clouds covered the stars. He hurriedly began walking as fast as his legs would carry him towards home, just a-praying he'd make it before dark. Then he felt something wet hit his face and roll down his cheeks. Dadgummit, it was starting to rain. He heard a big clap of thunder and saw lightning flash across the sky. The cold was seeping into his old bones, and he was sorry he had stayed too long in town. The rain was pouring down now like cats and dogs. Pretty soon he spotted an old cabin through the trees. It didn't have no welcoming lights, and the front door was hanging open off its hinges. Briars and weeds were growing all around it. He figured it was abandoned, but that was all right, 'cause he could hole up in it till the rain let up. He walked up on the rickety porch and stepped inside. It was empty except for some old newspapers on the floor and two old straight-back wooden chairs someone had left by the fireplace. Lo and behold, somebody had left some old logs still in the fireplace. So the old man used some of the old newspapers laying in the floor and lit a match to 'em and poked 'em under the logs to light a fire. Pretty soon he had a warm, cozy fire just a-blazing. He stood near it and warmed his old bones before he decided to sit down in one of the chairs and rest a spell. He picked up a piece of the old newspaper from the floor and began to read it by the light of the fire. He could hear the rain falling and the wind howling outside, and was grateful for the fire and the little cabin and his good luck. He was just starting to feel all dry and cozy and safe when he heard a rustling noise. He looked up from his reading to see a big old sow yellow wildcat sitting pretty as you please in the chair beside him. The big old sow yellow wildcat looked at the old man, and the old man looked at the big old sow yellow wildcat. The man was frozen with fear and didn't move a muscle. Finally, the big old sow yellow wildcat said, "It looks like there's just two of us here tonight." A talking cat? The poor old man had had enough and finally come to his senses. He jumped to his feet so fast his chair fell over, and he yelled, "That's what you think! There's just going to be one of us here in a minute!" And he ran out the door, lickety-split. He didn't even stop to look back. When he jumped the fence near the road, the big old sow yellow wildcat was right behind him, and it grabbed him by the seat of the pants and tore a big old hole clean out of him. Well, the man just kept running faster than you could say jackrabbit. The cold rain, the mud, the lightning and thunder didn't even faze him. He didn't slow down or stop until he saw the welcoming lights of his own little cabin he called home. He breathed a big sigh of relief and went inside and kicked the door and locked the door. You can bet your bottom dollar he never stayed too long in town again after that day. No one ever believed his tall tale of the big old sow yellow wildcat. But if I was you, here's a little word of warning for you. If you're ever in town and it starts getting late, you better get on home before dark, Or you just might run into the big old sow yellow wildcat yourself. The end.